All right, I got a question for you. Who the wants to be a prompter?
Danny said it needs to look fashionable.
Who wants to prompt
I'm so glad we're hip graphic designers.
for AI? Who got into graphic design in order to do this? Who wants to do this? You're going to end up taking a prompting class? Fuck that shit, I'm not taking a prompting class, and I'm not giving a prompting class. Not me. We see reactions, negative reactions to artificial intelligence across culture, particularly in the Screenwriters Guild. And yet, what we find within the graphic design field, I think, lack of caution with regard to this technology. So, if you write in the comments section below, in 3 days, I will respond to many of the comments. I want to show you a clip for a potential future that we might have here.
We need it by 5.
I got this, my boy. Ting is my life. Dog, I'ma get the bag off this one. Yo, Danny said it needs to look fashionable. I'm so glad we're hip graphic designers, my dude. Have you been down to accounting? They aren't creative, my boy.
We gotta have this done by 5. Let's prompting. Who's fashionable?
I think Greg Kinnear's fashionable.
Kinnear? Who?
You know, that dude from Talk Soup, the host. That guy's mad fashionable, homie. How about this for the prompting? Make a cologne label. The type needs to be some next level type fashion. It should be dark with cutting edge with metallic embossing, but super elegant typography. The type should be tracked out. The label should evoke manly, fashionable men like Greg Kinnear, the host of Talk Soup. What you think, my boy? Brah, that's Slaves. You are the best graphic designer in the world, my dude. You're most def gonna win an AIG award now. My boy, those simps in accounting are gonna be jelly AF.
This is a counter scenario that struck me last night after watching the following video. And I'm going to do a reaction video. All right, let's listen to it.
Where they need to be to make the work better. So for those that are concerned, what would you tell them to do right now as far as like training in preparation for how fast this thing is evolving?
I would encourage them just to play, to reserve judgment until they have enough time with tools, and to think deeply about how they can free up more of their time. Because
from the jump, I think that in general he's correct that the idea that we should reserve judgment. However, I think that there's sufficient evidence to suggest that we need to proceed with tremendous caution. So let's continue to look at what he says here.
I think what's happening with automation, with AI, with mass production of things, it's going to free us up, hopefully, to do the things that humans should be doing, which is being artists, to be poets and dreamers, and to be philosophical and think about the things that we want to create.
This is where I think that he has lost the plot completely. And you know, to his credit, he goes on later in the video to wind this back. So I don't understand this, but the idea that prompting, that AI tools will increase the speed, will increase the rapidity with which we produce our work, and then in a commercial environment or in a client-based environment, the client is going to understand that they're going to be hip to the same technologies that we are. They're going to understand because they're going to be receiving from other designers and from other creative individuals. They're going to be receiving design solutions at a much higher rate. So the host here states that really what we should do, what this is going to end up doing is it's going to end up freeing up time for our other pursuits. I could not disagree more strenuously.
Day. Let's take an 8-hour day. Let's say you're a retoucher, photo compositor. If you spend 6 or 7 hours of your day preparing elements for composite, what if that were shrunk down to like an hour? I'm not telling you to
If it were shrunk down to an hour, the economic climate, the clients would understand that. They exist in the same milieu, they exist in the same culture that we do. They'll understand the acceleration that is happening within design, and they will demand the products quicker and more cheaply.
put more things, because then that just diminishes the value that you bring to the table, but allows you to explore for 7 hours more what it is that you want to deliver to your prospect, to your
It doesn't allow you to explore for 7 hours more. It may, with a technology curve, there are going to be clients and people that you work for that are going to be behind the technology curve. So initially, if you're an early adopter, that's going to happen. But if we look at any technology curve, the understanding of what's at stake will quickly permeate corporate culture, and it's not going to allow you 7 hours to make more work. That's just simply not going to happen.
client or wherever it is that you're going to do work for. I think that's where your time needs to be spent. Now, we've seen this trend, and some trends rarely reverse themselves. There's a few instances where they do this, but the trend has been creative people are asked to do more in less time for less money. It's going.
This is exactly where the statement is incongruous. It's inconsistent with his central thesis about reserving judgment and about the idea that this is going to free you up for more creative activities. The thing that he's stating here are the cold hard facts of capitalism. Let's take a look at it again, and I'll shut up.
To be creative people are asked to do more in less time for less money. It's going to be a really cold day in hell, as they say, when people pay you more money to give you more time to work on something and to expect less of you. If we know this is where this is going, right? It sounds ridiculous for me to say. If we see where this is going, why not arm yourself with the best tools? And these are tools that you can use as a creative human being to be able to do what you do. And not to say I'm going to turn out 45.
This is exactly right. And again, I think this guy does a great job. He seems like a really super positive person and provides a tremendous amount of value. I don't have any issue with that. Don't have any issue with his YouTube channel, his presence, any of that stuff. Not that it matters, not that he would care. But the point being that he states it clearly here. He states it clearly here, and he states what the situation is, which is that if you're behind the technology curve on prompting, you're going to have your ass handed to you economically. You're going to be required and demanded to provide solutions in a time frame that you can't. So putting your head in the sand, burying your head in the sand, and not understanding how to use these tools is a recipe for disaster. But it is not going to free us up to create to have more artistic endeavors at our leisure. Let's continue.
5 ideas. I'm going to still deliver 3 ideas to you. But the time in which I spend in production versus creative, it's going to be flipped. It's going to be inverted. So you will spend more time thinking about what you want to say, what kind of artistic style you want to use, because it hits the message and the concept correctly, versus you cutting out.
All right, so this is another area that I have a problem with. And it really has to do with the different types of design methodology and process. Let's listen very carefully to what he has to say here.
Here. Use because it hits them. So you will spend more time thinking about what you want to say, what kind of artistic style you want to use, because it hits.
You're going to spend more time thinking about what you say, what kind of artistic style you want to use, because it hits the mark.
It's the message and the concept correctly, versus you cutting out hair.
Chris, I get.
Versus you cutting out hair. All right, so what he is suggesting is but one type of designer. This is a form. This is a form of design. It's a form of graphic design. It is not predicated upon exclusively based upon the idea that we make our work quickly and we spend that we have a modal that we have a two-pronged approach to the work. And what do I mean by that? I mean that in work like this, the work of the hand itself has a kind of logic to it. It's a crafted medium. It is a handcrafted component. So even though many graphic designers make work digitally, their tools, when creating a typeface as an example, their tools are digital. There is an intelligence that happens with the hand that fucking prompting completely eliminates, completely removes from the equation. But further, the biggest issue is the economic imperative that comes about as a result of it. I think one of the major issues that we're looking at, is the notion of what are we going to do now? Are we going to teach this shit in schools? So when you go to the Cooper Union or Rhode Island School of Design, or hang on a second, when you enter an undergraduate design curriculum, rather than learning the fundamentals of composition, rather than learning the fundamentals of typography, and rather than actually constructing those things, what you're going to end up doing,
Henry Earls,
what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up taking a prompting class. Fuck that shit, I'm not taking a prompting class, and I'm not giving a prompting class. It doesn't mean that I don't use those tools. The paradox of the whole situation is that I think they're incredibly powerful. In the video, in this future video, they show some really ridiculously powerful shit. And I use prompting. I use ChatGPT 4. I also use Midjourney and other the Photoshop beta in order to help create work. But the writer's strike. The writer's strike is a perfect example of one potential way of moving forward to approach this stuff with caution and warning. We live in an age of Boston dynamics or Boston robotics, whatever it's called. This notion that technology is going to provide us with more free time, that it's going to provide us with more agency, is simply false. So if you write in the comments section below, in 3 days I will respond to many of the comments. So until next time.